Welcome everyone to the BERNINA Embroidery Software webinar. Our presenter today is Debbie Lashbrook. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you, Deborah, and welcome everyone. This is our last webinar of the year, and it is on Corel PHOTO-PAINT. And this webinar is going to introduce you to the possibilities of Corel PHOTO-PAINT, which is part of your BERNINA Embroidery Software 8. We're going to be working with photographs and investigate some of the possibilities of what you can do with photographs. Now, this Corel PHOTO-PAINT is not used for creating embroidery, but it can create a background for your embroidery, as you see on the slide here. You'll find some similar tools with Corel Draw SE, and I just would encourage you to dig in and explore. You can have fun creating many different effects with your photographs. The ebook that accompanies the webinar includes descriptions of the icons that you'll find in Corel PHOTO-PAINT so that you can begin to learn about all the tools. In the latter part of the book, there are ideas for effects for photographs, and I would just encourage you to experiment with photographs that you have and try out some different effects. Photographs can be printed on fabric, and then you can add embroidery embellishments to those photographs. So with software 8.1, Corel SE was downloaded, and it included actually 4 components. And these components, you had a shortcut icon placed on your desktop for each of these components. So this first one is called Corel Capture. Then you had Corel Connect, you had Corel PHOTO-PAINT, and you had Corel Draw. So let's kind of look at each one of these. First of all, Corel Capture is a screen capture program, and many of you probably have other programs that will capture your computer screen. I use a different program, and to be quite honest, I haven't used Corel Capture enough to even tell you what it's like, because my favorite one is Snagit, and I use that all the time. But you can do a screen capture, and how you would use this, if you ever have to take a screen capture of an error message that you got in the software, you can use this program to take that screen capture. Then we also have Corel Connect, and this is a cataloging system of artwork, kind of like the embroidery library is for keeping track of your embroidery files. Corel Connect can be used to find artwork to use in embroidery. So it will help you locate pictures from Corel, or pictures that are on your computer, or from other websites. There is a search function, so you can open different pictures and search for example hearts, and it will pull all the different hearts from different sources on your computer and on websites. Then Corel Draw SE is a third option with Corel, and the second webinar this year covered this program. Corel is a vector-based program, whereas Corel PHOTO-PAINT is more a bitmap-based program. And you can edit bitmaps in Corel Draw, but it's primarily a vector-based program. Then Corel PHOTO-PAINT is what we're going to be talking about today, and it is a bitmap and pixel editing program. Where you might use this is editing photographs or drawings or artwork that you want to eventually turn into embroidery. Or if you've got a photograph that you want to edit for use with color photo stitch, you could also use Corel PHOTO-PAINT for this. So you can do a lot of different things with photographs in Corel PHOTO-PAINT. It does have some shape tools. You'll see these shape tools over here on the left side. And you can create shapes, but usually we use Corel Draw for that. You can fill types, or you can fill these shapes, but the fill types are going to be bitmap fills and not vector fills. Like Corel Draw, Corel PHOTO-PAINT has an object manager, and that displays all the objects on the screen in the order that they appear. So think of it kind of like color film. It's the color film of Corel PHOTO-PAINT. So some of the different things that we're going to look at with Corel PHOTO-PAINT, again, it works with bitmaps, and you can convert a vector image to a bitmap and then adjust vector images in Corel PHOTO-PAINT as long as it's transferred into a bitmap. We're going to look about recoloring black and white, or recoloring colored images into black and white, and we'll clean up some old photos. You'll learn about adjusting photos, maybe adding brightness to them. We'll add some tints, we'll remove the background, and then we'll create some photo composites. So these are just going to be really short exercises just to introduce you to different possibilities. Now, before we get started, I wanted to cover the different types of picture files. Remember, there are two main types of graphic programs that you would run across on your computer: vector graphics and bitmap or raster images. Vector graphics are made of lines and curves, and they're generated from a computer program. And when you increase the size of a vector image, the lines look the same. You don't lose clarity when you increase the size of a vector image. A raster or a bitmap is made up of small squares of color, and you'll find bitmaps in photographs and in scans. And generally, bitmaps images are much more realistic. However, when you increase the size of a bitmap, it does lose clarity. So here you see the same picture. The top one is a vector image, so this was generated in a computer. The bottom one is an actual photograph, and this area has been increased in size in both of these instances. So you see how the bitmap becomes pixelated when the size is increased. As far as how to learn about what Corel PHOTO-PAINT will do, there is a hint docker that is found on the right side of your screen. And anytime you see these symbols at the bottom of the dialog box, you can click on the title and it will take you to different things. The question mark will take you to different areas of the manual, and the manual is written for the full program of Corel PHOTO-PAINT. Ours is a well, we have fewer functions in our software, so not everything will work in Corel PHOTO-PAINT SE, but we do have lots of different possibilities. All I can do is tell you, encourage you to try it, look at the manual and read about it and try it, and then that will help you get a clear understanding of what is activated and what is not activated in Corel PHOTO-PAINT SE. So the question mark takes you to the manual. Then there are also tutorials, and here you could click on this and it would take you to a tutorial. You do have to be online to access these. Then this video button will take you to a webinar. It takes you to the Corel website, and you can take the video, or you can listen to the video and learn different things about the video, about Corel PHOTO-PAINT. So those are some of the different symbols that you will see. This is what the Corel PHOTO-PAINT screen looks like, and you have a title bar up here, there's a menu bar, the general toolbar where you'll find some familiar icons: undo, redo, cut, copy, and paste, and then the property bar. Now, like Corel Draw, the property bar in Corel PHOTO-PAINT will change based on what you have selected. The tools are over on the left-hand side. You have your design screen, and then your dockers are over here on the right, along with colors. So again, the property bar changes with each tool selected. So based on what you have selected, you're going to see different options. In the ebook, it will take each property bar and describes what the icons are and briefly what you can do with those icons. Now, if you are going to scan a photo, some of your photos, of course, are saved on your computer from your camera, but if you have to scan a photo, keep in mind there are different in uses for photos and they do require different resolutions. You always want to scan at a higher resolution than you need. For example, 72 dpi is needed for the web, but you might want to scan at 150. If you're going to print something, then you would need 300 dpi. And these settings can be chosen in your scanning software. The quality of your picture and your scanner is going to influence the final quality of the image. Another thing that you're going to run across in Corel PHOTO-PAINT is a term called mask. And masks are used to manipulate the bitmaps. And if you think of masking tape or painter's tape, and the mask protects certain areas of the picture, and then you can make changes over other areas. So for example, in this picture, there is an elliptical mask. There are all different kinds of masks that you can use. This is an elliptical mask. And when I was painting over this, the mask constrained my paint to be within the mask. There is also something called Inverting Mask, and I could use the Invert Mask to paint the outside areas. So a mask is going to protect certain areas of the image, and you'll learn more about that when we actually work in the software. There are drawing tools in PHOTO-PAINT as well, and colors can be chosen, and you can choose the colors before you draw the objects. You can double click on any of the color boxes that you find down in the toolbox at the lower end of the toolbox, and one of them corresponds to foreground color, one to the background color. This is the background color. This is going to show you the fill color. And this button resets to change the foreground and the fill colors to black, and then the background color is changed to white. So we won't be working too much with this, but I am going to show you how to use the eyedropper tool to change the colors in your image. Now you can also edit artwork in Color PHOTO-PAINT, and the handles are going to change based on their function. This should look familiar to you. The squares can be used to resize an image, and the corner control handles will resize an image proportionately. The ones on the bottom and top or either side will resize disproportionately. If you click on this object again, the outline squares turn into arrows, and you can actually rotate the object, or you can skew the object with the center control handles. Click on it again, and this would be in addition to what we have in the embroidery side. You can actually distort the image, and then click again, and you can change the perspective. So I'll show you how this works when we open up the software. Another exercise we're going to be doing is learning how to color black and white images. And once they get colored, you can then convert these images to embroidery. You can also take an image and that is a color image and turn it into black and white. And I'll show you how to do this. And you can take that image and also add a sepia tone to it. So we'll learn about how to do that. Color PHOTO-PAINT can also be used to clean up photos. So if you take a picture and you don't want something in that picture, you're going to learn how to color over it. You can remove any unwanted object. You can also remove scratches and blemishes. And the tool that is used for this is called a clone tool. By changing the shape and the size and the type of the paintbrush and softening the edge, you can blend in an object so the object disappears from the photo. You can also use Corel PHOTO-PAINT to adjust your photos. And oftentimes we might have an image that is too dark, and we can use Corel PHOTO-PAINT to lighten that image. There is an image adjustment lab, and there's also one in Corel Draw, but the image adjustment lab in Corel PHOTO-PAINT works pretty much the same way. There are all these controls, and you can try different things, adjusting the brightness, the contrast. There's also an auto adjust that you can try. And as you try different things, you create a snapshot, and you'll have a row of options to choose from. And then you simply choose your favorite picture, and you can work with that. You can take an old photo and colorize that photo by adding tints to it. And there are lots of different special effects in the effects menu. These are all different categories, and each of these categories has other options as well. So if I were going to make a change to this photograph, for example, I can draw my mask around the roses and then protect that by inverting the mask and create a blur, and then really cause the focal point of the center flowers to, it's really going to pop it. All different ways to transfer photos. These are different art strokes, so you can use charcoal, there's a crayon, there's a dabble, an impressionist. All different types of art strokes can be applied to photographs. And then you can blur images. You can also create a spotlight through the camera and play with lighting effects. And this image was changed by transforming it through Colorize. There are also lenses in Corel PHOTO-PAINT. So you go to Object, Create, and New Lens. You're going to be learning how to do this. And as you are creating these special effects, it's not altering the image because a lens is a special layer on top of the image. And if you only want to apply the lens to a certain area, this is where you would use a mask again. So it kind of sits above the background image, and you can see there's all sorts of different things that you can try. And this is a polarized lens that's been applied to the entire picture. We'll also cover how to take an image and remove the background so that you can create a photo composite and apply that image to another photograph that is going to serve as your background. So let's go ahead and get started and learn about what you can do in Corel PHOTO-PAINT. So the first thing we're going to do, the software is open, and we're going to insert an image. So I'm going to go to Insert Artwork, and we're going to use this image. It's built into the software. It's called Celtic Spirals, and just open that image. While it's selected, go ahead and switch over to Corel Draw. And with it selected, you can click on Edit Artwork. Now, you can work in Corel PHOTO-PAINT via this method where you've got the software open, or you can open Corel PHOTO-PAINT directly. If you are going to apply embroidery to a photograph, that would be the advantage of opening it in the embroidery program versus opening Corel PHOTO-PAINT. But you can also save that image from opening it in Corel and then access it when you open your embroidery software. There's really no advantage. It just depends on what you're more comfortable with. When I click on Edit Artwork, you can see that it's telling me that I'm going to go to Corel PHOTO-PAINT, and so it will open in Corel PHOTO-PAINT. And here it is. Now, right now, it is the background. And if you notice that, my tools are over here on the left-hand side. If I try to select this image, I cannot select it. Here in Object Manager, and remember, if you can't find Object Manager, it's a Docker, and you want to make sure Object Manager is checked. So in order to select this, I need to click on Create an Object from the background. And this is that icon that's over on the right-hand side. And when I select that, notice that now I have selection handles. Here is when I can resize that picture. If I click again, I have rotate and I have skew. If I click again, I can distort. And if I click one more time, I can move these and create perspective. So by moving a handle, you get different images. And then this could be used either to save and turn into embroidery or as a background for embroidery. So that's one thing that you can do in Corel PHOTO-PAINT. And I'm just going to delete this image, and I'll go get another image by inserting artwork. And I'll navigate to the image I'm going to use next. This is also an image that's built into your software. It's a black and white image. Remember to press enter to make sure that the image is on screen. And let's say I wanted to paint this. And because it is a bitmap and not a vector, I can't select a color chip in Corel Draw. I have to go into Corel PHOTO-PAINT to color this. So we will open the image in Corel PHOTO-PAINT. And here it shows my colors. Now, if I want to colorize this image, I can use the magic wand mask. That would be a good mask to use because it's going to select parts of the image. So let's first choose a foreground color, and I'm going to just click on a color chip, and notice when I click on a color chip over here, the foreground color changes. I'll select the magic wand mask by clicking on the corner triangle that exposes all the different types of mask, and the magic wand mask I can use to select just part of that design. And you can see the marching ants around that image. So it's very clear what I have selected. Now, if I want to paint, I'm going to select the paint bucket and I will click inside the marching ants. Now notice that the image filled with the fill color. If you'll recall the slide, this was foreground color, this was background color, and this is the fill color. So let's say that we want to pick another color. If I select the eyedropper tool and click on, let's do a blue, you'll see it changes the foreground color. However, if I right click, it changes the fill color. So if I really wanted this to be green, I need to right click and not left click. After I choose my color, I will go to the fill bucket and I'll dump the color. And now you can see it's green. I'll go back to my magic wand, select the next color. And if I press the space bar, in the center of that pink dot, there is a tiny, tiny paint bucket. So that means I'm going to paint. And then it's just a matter of pressing the space bar. I get the magic wand. I'm going to click on the next area I want to paint, press the space bar. I've got the paint bucket, and I'm going to fill with color. So I'm going to repeat this process to color in all the green areas. Now it's time to change the color. What this space bar does is it alternates between the last two selected tools. So I'm going to use my eyedropper tool to pick a new color for the petals. Now remember, I have to right click. That's what changes the fill color. It's a right click. Now I'll go to my magic wand, choose this, press the space bar, and you see I get the eyedropper because that was the last selected tool. So instead what I have to do is choose the fill, and now I can fill it with my new color. If I press the space bar now, I've got my magic wand. So it's just kind of a matter of clicking the space bar in between each click, and that way you can colorize the photo. So you would repeat that process, and in the ebook, it tells you how to completely change all the colors. This can then be saved, and we'll pretend like I am done. I would first click on Remove Mask or Clear Mask, and then I'll do File, Exit, and it's going to ask me if I want to change the colors. I'm going to say yes. And you can see now that I'm back in the embroidery side of the software, I can click on Convert, and that artwork is going to be converted into embroidery. So now let's look at taking photographs and playing with some of the colors in a photograph. I'll switch over to Artwork Canvas. And once I am in Artwork Canvas, I'm going to insert an image. I'll click on Import and then press Enter. Then I'll switch to Corel PHOTO-PAINT. If I want this image to be a black and white image, all I have to do is go to Image, Convert to Grayscale. And this is going to open up a dialog box. I have my original photo on the left. I have the new photo on the right. And by adjusting these bars, I can try different effects. And there is a preview button that gives you a preview of your changes. And you can try different things. There is a reset button that will take you back to your beginning grayscale. Once you get it set, you just click OK, and now you have your black and white image. And then you can save the image and use that to add embroidery to. I'm going to use that same image, and this time we're going to turn it into a sepia tone. So here I will go to Adjust and Desaturate. This is another way to turn an image into grayscale. And it takes all the color out, but it is still a RGB photo. So it still has red, green, and blue colors in the photo. You have to have a color photo or grayscale photo, not a pure black and white photo, in order to create the sepia tone. Now I'm going to go to Adjust and Color Balance. And here I have some different values, and I can set these all back to 0. It's probably easier to swipe across it and make it 0. So that gives me a starting point. Then what you can do is adjust the slider bars. Now in the photo that I just had, I had about a 40 for the cyan, and then I'm going to adjust the yellow to a negative number. And you can see you get an updated preview as you make these adjustments. When you get something you like, you just click OK, and now you have your sepia tone photo. Now remember, our color photo stitch program does the sepia tone as well as grayscale photos, and so you can use those to turn it into embroidery stitches. But this type of action would be an adjustment that is done on the photo only, not on the stitches. Now, another thing we can do is we can clean up a photo. So I'm going to insert another piece of artwork. And I'll press Enter and then click on Edit Artwork. So the clone tool is one of the tools on the left side of the screen, and this is used to cover up parts of an image that you no longer want in your photograph. The clone tool is found right under, there's the crop, and then this is the zoom tool. So it's right under the zoom tool. And here you find the clone tool. And you can read about what it does. It copies pixels between image areas, and it will cover imperfections. Or in this case, I want to get rid of this lady that's standing by the ocean. So I will select the tool, and then I want to identify my source. I'm going to increase the size of this brush. That's done in the property bar. You can see that I have different shapes, and there are also lots of different types of brush tips that you can use. I'll just use this the round one for now. So the first thing I want to do is click on an area, and you can see now I have a circle with a plus sign, and this is where the color is going to be picked up. Then I release the mouse, and I move to the area that I want to paint over. And so I can just paint over the image. If I want to get a new area, I simply repeat the process. I'll go click on the clone tool. Select the area, release the mouse, and drag to the area to paint. So it's really quick and easy to get rid of some of those areas that you don't want. And then I would save my changes and have a cleaned up photograph. Now, notice that the girl is back in the picture because I didn't save the changes. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is adjust photos. So I will insert another piece of artwork. And here's a photo that is dark, and I want to adjust it so it's lighter. Again, I'll go into Edit Artwork. Okay, there it is. And then I will go to the Adjust and Image Adjustment Lab. So here you see the original. Here you see the photograph that will change. If you only see a single image, you'll click on the before and after full preview, and that will show both of the images. So if I want to brighten this up, I just move the slider over and you can see the image lightens. Maybe I want to change the contrast. I can do that. I can lighten up the highlights, and the image updates as you go. Now, if I want to create a snapshot of this and then do some other things, I will just click on Create Snapshot, and I can always go back to that. So let's see if I add a little bit of blue tone to it and maybe brighten it up some more. And I can create a snapshot of that. And so by looking at these two different snapshots, there's the one, there's the second one, I can make my choice. And now I have a brighter one that I can use, again, to embroider on top of, or just to save as a picture. So I don't have to use these for embroidery. And then you would just click OK after you choose your one, and you can see the changes made, and then you can File, Save As, and navigate to where you want to save it. And I can put this is lightened tree and save. And click OK. So another thing that we can do is work with colorizing photos. So again, I'm going to go to Insert Artwork, and I will choose a black and white picture. Again, go into Corel PHOTO-PAINT. And you have to be somewhat patient. I'm not very patient with this. It takes a while to get over there. Looks like it's there now. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's an old photograph that I just want to colorize. So again, I'll go to Adjust, Image Adjustment Lab, and by changing the temperature and the tint, I can get different colors. Again, I can create snapshots, and maybe I want to make a few more changes. I can create a snapshot, and I'll choose my favorite tint and have a colorized photo instead of a black and white. Again, you pick the one you want, and you can save the changes. And let's investigate some of the transforming that we can do with photographs. Again, I'll select the artwork, and let's use this photo. Now this is a huge photo, but I'm going to go ahead and do this effect. And let's say I wanted to blur everything around these flowers. First, I'll go into Corel PHOTO-PAINT by clicking on Edit Artwork. And I will want to create a mask. So with the mask tools, I'm going to use the lasso mask. So this lets me kind of draw around the area. It's kind of like the freehand tool that you'll find in our embroidery software. Now I have marching ants. I can subtract areas if I want to subtract. I can add areas. And now I want to invert the mask. And invert mask means that this area around it is the part that is going to be affected. The flowers are going to be protected. So with this, let's go to the effects menu and try some blurs. And the one that I used in the slide was radial blur. And it's doing its magic now. And you can see how it blurred the image all around the area that is protected by the mask. So that is one. And if I don't click OK, it's going to take me back to my original photo. And I can try another effect. So let's do Distort and Ripple. And again, you just try things. Just get in here and start playing with your photographs, and you can see some of the different effects. Now, if I wanted to make this a little bit cleaner around my flowers, of course I could do that. I didn't want to take time to do that. So again, just try different things. It's a lot of fun to transform the photos. All right, so let's open a new file, and I'm going to open this directly in Corel PHOTO-PAINT. And what we're going to do is cut around a flower. And I only have the transparent rows here, so I'm going to have to go navigate to find where my regular flower is so you can learn how to cut it out of the background. And I have to remember where it is. Deborah, while I'm looking, do we have any questions that need to be answered?
The only question so far is when you were doing the spiral of the Celtic spirals, parts of it disappeared when you were manipulating it.
Right. That's because of the size of the background.
Okay. But is it completely gone or just out of view?
It's, well, in terms of printing out, you're going to print out what you're seeing on screen. So in that regard, it's completely gone.
Okay. And that's the only question so far.
Okay. All right. Boy, I cannot remember where I put that original flower. Well, let me just, I can use one of the others.
While you're doing that, to locate the handout or the ebook, if you will look on your control panel, you'll see a tab that says Handouts, and click on Handouts, and the document will show under there. Then you can download it from your control panel.
Okay, I'll just use this same picture. So what I'm going to do first of all is crop. And I'm going to get rid of most of the background this way. So the crop tool is right under your mask tools, and I can click around the image and then double click, and that crops it. Now I'll go to the image menu and cutout lab, and that opens up a new dialog box. And here I'm going to paint around the edge of this. So I can choose the nib size here. I could choose the color I'm going to paint with, and it's going to create, and I've got, this is kind of wide here, but you can straddle the edge. You're not trying to paint right on the edge. You are straddling the edge. And the idea is that this is going to cut out parts of the flower. When I get all the way around, I click on Fill and come and click on the image. So that shows me what I have cut out. Now, if I wanted to go out to the edge, I can preview first, and that kind of shows what I've got. I can zoom in, and you can see that there's some areas that need to be cleaned up. So if I want to remove, and let's bring down the size of this tip. I can clean up these kind of gray areas around it. Whoops, there's an undo button. Good thing, huh? And you want to release the mouse periodically, because otherwise you're going to undo way back to the beginning. So once you release your mouse, that sets the first level of undo. So you would go all the way around the image, cleaning up these areas that you would need to clean up. Now, if you want to kind of preview what you've got so far, you can change the background too. So if I put it on black, that's going to give me one look. There's also white, and on different images here, see, I can see I've got a lot more cleaning up to do. I will not take time to clean this all the way up, but I'm going to do just a little bit more cleaning so you can see. And you can clean up the image with any of those backgrounds. And you can zoom in and create the cutout that you want. So the idea here is you're cutting around the background and then saving this image with a transparent background is what we're going to do. And then this image can be placed on top of another picture. Okay, so that I'm going to quit there, but you get the idea. Now what we need to do is click OK. And you can see this checkerboard indicates that that is a transparent background. To save this image, I'll go to File, Export for Web, and a dialog box will come up. And I want to make sure my format is PNG. And I will save the file. And I'll navigate back to my original folder. And save the picture. Now I'm going to close that. And I'll delete this picture. And now I'm going to open the background. And we're going to use this sky. And then I'll insert another piece of art. And here is my picture that's, here's the one that's transparent that I did originally. I'll do that one, import this. And once this picture is on, I can decrease the size of this. F4 brings the picture in, or all the pictures in full view. And then I can place this picture on top. Now you can see this is what happens when you don't clean up the edges entirely. So I'd want to bring that back into the software and clean up and get rid of all those extra edges. when you take time to do this and paint it the way it needs to be painted and clean it up perfectly, those edges are going to blend. You can also feather the edges, and that helps it blend in the background. So these are just some of the things that you can do with some of your photographs that you have on your computer. I would again encourage you to just jump in and try things and have fun experimenting. And that's all I have, Deborah.
There are a couple of more questions.
Okay.
After we've saved one of these, can we bring it into DesignWorks and paint it? What file format do we end up with?
The DesignWorks is a vector-based program. So because these are JPEGs or PNGs, those are bitmap images. And about the only thing that you could do, I'm going to get rid of this sky and let's just see. I don't know how well this will transfer, but you do have the tracing, and what this does, this is in Artwork Canvas. You have different ways to trace bitmaps to make them into vector objects. So quick trace we've had for a while, and what this is going to do is take that bitmap and turn it into a vector image. So it's probably still working, or I may be crashing the software because, oh, there we go. Now I have a vector image. I have the vector image, and this is the bitmap image. So this vector image, you can see clear areas, there are lines drawn here. I could take this image and copy and paste it into DesignWorks, but it has to be a vector image. So you could use your trace bitmap in order to turn it into a vector. This probably isn't going to be a very good image to bring into DesignWorks because of all the different blocks of colors. The more simple images, definitely you could bring those into DesignWorks, but you would have to convert the image into a vector image.
Which is better, JPEG or PNG?
Well, PNG is what gives you the transparent background. So in that regard, if you need something that has a transparent background, you would need to use PNG. They're just different formats that provide different things. JPEGs are smaller files, but they can be used as a bitmap, but it's not going to give you a transparent background.
Okay. I think you probably just answered this question, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. What is a PNG file, and why not save to GIF or other format?
Okay, I choose usually PNG over GIF. GIF also is transparent, so it could be used as well, but I just usually use PNG. No particular reason. They both PNG and GIF files are transparent.
Okay. Would you save the transparent picture for web? If and I can't read the entire question.
If you need a transparent background, that's when you save as PNG. And let me select this and go back into PhotoPaint.
While you're doing that, the entire question is, would you save the transparent picture for web if you're going to print it?
If you're going to print it, I'm not. If you're going to post something on the web, then that's when, see, this export for web is what you use, and that will create a transparent background if you choose PNG or GIF. It depends on what you want. If you want a transparent background to place on the web, then you would choose either the PNG or the GIF. The JPEG will not give you that transparent background. And it'll have a background. It'll have usually a white background is what the JPEG will do. So it depends on what your goal is. But if you do the file export for web, you have those three different choices: the PNG, the GIF, or the JPEG. The one you choose is going to be based on what your ultimate goal is. Do you want something with transparent background, or do you want a background showing?
Okay, and I think that answer just answered the question I'm about to read. I don't quite understand why the rose was saved for the web. Is that the only way to get it saved as a PNG file?
Yes, that's the only way to save it as a PNG.
Okay.
If I go export, we'll just try it here. There is a PNG. Let's try it, and I'm going to do bitmap and a tile. I'm going to export it. Okay, so objects with merged with background, and we'll just open it up after it exports. See, it's going to have a white background. It isn't transparent. So in my reading and research for this webinar, that's the process that was covered in the manual in terms of saving it as a transparent background. Because when you do a and I'll just go ahead and insert that one now that we just saved. Here's the bitmap. If I import it, and let's go ahead and switch over to Embroidery Canvas. Now, Embroidery Canvas doesn't show, it doesn't support transparency, so it's going to show backgrounds in all of these probably. Yeah, even the PNG file. So if we go back over to Artwork Canvas, let's bring in that other picture. This will tell us if it's transparent or not. Okay, so if I bring this one over, and yeah, see, it's not transparent, whereas the PNG is. Oh, I've got to cut and paste it to get the order. And now I can't select it. But anyway, this is the one that I saved as a PNG without exporting for the web. And you can see that it is not transparent. This other one, for some reason, I can't get it. Okay, there, now I've got it. If I bring this one over, you see it's got the transparent. So this is the one that was exported for the web. This was a regular export. They're both PNGs. So anyway, the directions that were in the manual worked. The other way didn't. So
well, that was a good explanation and demonstration. Thank you.
I think it helps because it's if you've not worked in photo programs very much, and I really haven't very much at all. That's a good way. Just experiment. You can try different things.
Yeah. While we're on this picture, how do you get rid of the pink background on the vector image?
Well, what you would have to do is before you convert it, you can delete the background, and or you could also let's see. In the crop tools, there's the knife. You could probably cut around parts of this and delete it that way. Or another way, since this is a vector image, we can ungroup all objects. And here are all the objects over here. You have to figure out which one is the background and delete it. Just keep choosing if that's not right. So we'll undo that. That would be the only way. And just pay attention to what areas you're selecting here through the different curves, because when we ungrouped it, it took all those pieces. But that's the way, that's probably the easiest way, is to just go through all your curves that are listed here and find out like what pieces and parts could be deleted. You can see the selection boxes. That would be one way to get rid of the background.
It just takes time.
It would take time, yes. That's why, start out with something simpler rather than this rows to do. That would help.
Okay. And we are just about to run out of time. So there have been a lot of questions about the ebook and where to find it. If you look on your control panel while we're in the middle of the webinar.
Will it show on my screen now?
No, it won't.
Okay, yeah. All right.
You'll find a tab that says Handouts. Click on the Handouts tab, and then you will find the document appearing under there. Click on that document, and then you would download it. But as soon as this webinar ends, that will go away. But the handout will be posted to the Bernina web. Oh, I can see it now.
Oh, can you? Okay,
yes.
Good. Because it's right there. I'm doing a screen capture so I can put it in the slide set.
But very good.
You'll see it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so just click on the arrow in front of Handouts, and then you can click on that to download it.
Okay. But if you're not able to download it while the webinar is live, the handout will be posted to the Bernina website at bernina.com, promos and events, webinars, archived recordings, I believe is what it is, for embroidery software. And then that is where you'll find all of the past webinars for this year for the embroidery software. And the handout will be included there.
And one other thing, if you have any topic that you would like to see next year, because I am going to do 4 more webinars next year, feel free to send me a suggestion at dlashbrook@berninausa.com and let me know what you would like in a webinar.
This has been very informative. Thank you so much, Debbie, for all the hard work you put into it. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We know that you have busy schedules during this time of the year, but we do appreciate the time you spent with us, and we look forward to seeing you next year.
Thanks, Deborah. Thank you, everyone.